You met a guy?
I don't think I'm his type. He's like gay Tom Brady.
What are you into? One of these ripped idiots with no opinions?
No, I'd like someone who's physically very frail and won't stop talking.
And I bet he's as intimidated by you as you are by him.
I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, I can do whenever and I can do whatever.
Cool, whatever, whenever. GIF of Michael Scott dancing.
Office GIF? This person isn't gay.
Hey man, how are you going?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Saw the film yesterday, I thought it was terrific.
Oh, thank you.
Throughout your career, I think you've provided a great spotlight for a lot of brilliant comedians, kind of introduce them to a very wide audience. And for someone like Billy Eichner, I was wondering what got you excited about sort of giving him center stage?
Yeah, I mean, so I knew him from Billy on the Street, and I cast him in Bad Neighbours too. And he was funny. And then I cast him in the show that I created with my wife called Friends from College that was on Netflix. And he was an excellent actor in that, which I didn't know. And then we screened the first episode in a movie theater, and every time he was on screen, he destroyed. And I was like, oh, he's like a movie star. And I knew he had a strong point of view from Billy on the Street, and he's just so funny. And so I approached him about writing this movie, and he was into it, so we started working on it.
So you wrote the screenplay with him. I'm wondering, what was that process like? What did you learn from each other?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he'd never written a movie before, so I think he learned a lot about how to write a movie from me, just because I've written a lot of movies at this point. And then, I mean, obviously, I'm straight. I learned a lot about gay culture and the LGBTQ community, and, you know, and also we were building a movie around him, and so it was important that the movie be honest to his experience and to his comedic voice. And so, you know, as a director, it was particularly important on this movie, but really on all my movies, I think I'm pretty good at like listening, and so I think that I did a lot of listening and making sure that the film that we made sense and was honest, you know, to his experience.
I think it's interesting you brought that up, because I was wondering, was there ever any point where you were a little bit trepidatious making a film about a gay couple being a straight man? Did that impact your approach or your directing style?
No, you know, to me, it's just like you're just, you know, as a director, particularly of comedies, you're just trying to make something really fun. I'm just trying to make something really funny, and the way to do that is to be really honest, and the way to do that is just to listen to what the actor is telling you. And that could be a macro thing. It could be something like Billy saying to me, oh, this whole plot point doesn't work. And it could be really micro, you know, when I work, you know, I've just been working with Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne on a TV show called Platonic, and you know, Rose might be like, oh, this scene doesn't really, this scene is a little weird, and then we work on rewriting the script. So you're just always listening to what the actors are telling you. And that collaboration between writer and actor, I think, which I love doing, creates really kind of vibrant stuff, I think.
You know, a lot of the attention has been about Billy, and he is terrific, and it's a great screenplay, but I really thought Luke McFarlane was terrific. He was a great find. How did he come onto your radar? How did you know he was the guy?
You know, he just auditioned. So he came in and was just, he was one of the first guys who came in, and I wasn't familiar with him, and he blew us both out of the water. We were like, we're casting this guy. And he and Billy had a great chemistry. They're both like kind of trying to figure each other out, which I think is like a big part of it, you know, a big part of any romantic comedy. And he's just really funny. And I also think Billy's very like, you know, he's really on, he talks a lot, he's very like cerebral, and Luke's really good at just being very still and quiet and kind of, he has a knowing look that's really intriguing.
There has been some discussion about the film's performance at the US box office. And you know, this is a festival darling, the reviews are great, kind of universal acclaim, but it seems to have struggled to find a bit of an audience in the US. What do you think about that?
You know, I mean, obviously it was a little disappointing or whatever, but you know, all the movies I've made, with the exception of Bad Neighbours, at least in the US, like, did okay, you know, in the movie theater, and then eventually they found their audience. So, and it's always something funny where no one remembers the box office except the director, you know, really. And so this is, you know, the movie's fantastic. It's not just a good movie, it's really entertaining. And I just know it's gonna find its audience. And I think a lot of people are just like, oh, I'll watch it on streaming, I'll watch it later, you know, which is too bad, simply because it's really, you know, you saw it last night, it's really fun in a movie theater. But I also think people, you know, it's happened with all my movies, people eventually find them and watch them later. So, yeah.
And yeah, talking about the big screen, visually, I thought this thing looked beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And with comedies, sometimes that's not the first thing you notice, I guess, sort of the visual style of a film. I was just wondering, what kind of vision or style were you looking for something in particular, or was it just something that you and your cinematographer found while you were making it? Because it's very vibrant, very colorful.
Thanks, yeah, thanks. That means a lot. Yeah, so I worked with our production designer, Lisa Myers, and Brandon Trost, who I've worked with now a number of times, a cinematographer. So I did both both Bad Neighbors with him and then this movie. We want it to be a classic rom-com. That means the camera's not moving too much. There's not much handheld. I want it to be lit really warmly. We wanted it to feel like a slight wish fulfillment world. So it's basically real, but there's a gloss to it, just a little bit of a gloss. We want the clubs to feel real and exciting, and you want to be there. So yeah, so there are a lot of choices there, but the main thing was just keeping the camera pretty still, because I think that's like when you watch like When Harry Met Sally, which is a beautiful film. Barry Sonnenfeld, who became a big director, was the DP on that. It's beautifully shot. There's long kind of shots that let the characters just talk and exist in the spaces, and that was a big part with this one too.
Yeah, I should mention, as when I got home from seeing the film, I looked up cast and crew, and Brendan Tross, and looking through his credits, I found it very interesting. He's done a lot of stuff with you. And he also did Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah. He's one of these cinematographers who he's on the trajectory to be a big deal, and one day he won't want to. Yeah, he'll be too busy to work with me. But I'm going to keep working with him until that happens. But he's brilliant, and his stuff just looks gorgeous, and he always comes at it from a story perspective. He's never like trying to move the camera in ways just because he thinks it's cool. He's always like, I think it should be this and this and this.
Another thing I noticed while watching the film, it really struck me as someone who is very passionate about their romantic comedies. I'm just wondering how much of that genre has really impacted your work throughout your career, and what are some of your favorite rom-coms?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably my favorite genre. I think there's nothing more human and more delightful than watching a really good romantic comedy. There are not that many of them because they're very hard to make, you know? I think it's a genre that weirdly people like diss, but that's mainly because it's just super hard to make a really good one. Yeah, to me, it's when they work, they're the movies people watch over and over and over again. You know, if you think about, you know, When Harry Met Sally, I watch once a year. Annie Hall, I watch once a year. There are movies like Bridget Jones' Diary, when it's on, I just watch the whole thing. You know, so I think it's just one of those genres that is just, that I certainly watch over and over again. Broadcast News, you know, is just I love that movie so much, you know. But you have to really delve into the psychology of your characters, and usually the characters and actors are not too separate, you know, and so that's really what it is about.
Because it is a challenge to get right, those sort of dynamics, the chemistry between actors. Was that something that you ever found challenging, or was it just so natural with Billy and Luke, and even just the camaraderie with the supporting cast?
It was years of writing, you know, really. It takes a long time because you're writing, you know, Billy and I were writing towards him, and then the character Bobby is based on him, certainly, and then once we had Luke, Aaron is less based on Luke. Like, Luke's a Juilliard trained actor. He's in touch with his feelings in a way that I think Aaron maybe isn't as much. But you know, we're trying to create this whole romantic couple. But I think that, like, you know, it just takes it took years of writing, and we were going to shoot in March of 2020 and got delayed because of COVID. And I think the extra year and a half benefited the script a lot because we kept working on it, and it made it more layered and more complex. You know, but when you look at the great rom-coms, like When Harry Met Sally is a good example. That movie, Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner and Nora Ephron all sat and talked about romance and love. These three brilliant comedic minds were talking about their lives, and that's why that movie is so brilliant. It's not, you know, it's not just, they didn't make it up. It's based on their own kind of stuff.
Yeah, there has been a lot of conversation about this film's importance. Gay romantic comedies on a studio system, they are few and far between. I'm just wondering, what do you hope can be taken away from this film?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope people, you know, when you watch it, you have a blast. And, you know, when we tested the film, it tested highest among women. It tested high among everyone, but it tested highest among women. It was not, you know, and then next, I think, was gay men or whatever. And so I think, like, you know, so that was, you know, it really works no matter what, you know, whether you're gay or straight or whatever. People just enjoy it because I think the more specific the story you're telling, the more relatable and universal it is. I mean, that's just like an old writing adage. And so it's true with this too. And so I hope people go and have a lot of fun and laugh a lot. And like I said last night, you're guaranteed to have sex afterwards.
Yeah. I'm still waiting, but.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Oh God. I think I owe you. Oh, this is an awkward ending.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. This is a bummer end.
Yeah.
I wish I could introduce. I don't know anyone in Australia, otherwise I'd introduce you to people.
I'm sure I'm going to be the only one with that response today. Film's terrific. Hope you've enjoyed Australia, and thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
All right, cool. Maybe watch it again when it comes out. It'll happen then. It'll happen October 27th.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I was watching it wrong.
Yeah, you're watching it wrong. Thanks. That was maybe the best ending to an interview I've ever had.
As Nicholas said, Bros opens in Australian cinemas on October 27. So check out our review, which is up on the site now. And remember, like it, follow it, right here at Switch.